Sorry for the late start. I had to take care of a couple small things. Good evening. This is the airport board. Y'all bear with me. It's my first time running it. So we do have a quorum present, and Greg's going to lead us in invocation, and Jake's going to do the USA and Texas flag pledges.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the gift of life and for the gift of all of us gathered here together. We ask your blessing on each of us, that we can contribute to the proceedings for which we're gathered, that will provide wise counsel to those that need to hear it, and that we also listen with an open mind to other ideas that are here. We know that your presence with us is something that we cannot live without, and we are thankful for that. This we ask in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Do we have any public comments tonight? Marley Martinez at address 3 County Road 4701. Topic is Hangar L and Q plans. You have 3 minutes, and then for our open meeting stuff, and then that's all you get.
Of course. So, I'm hoping this is an okay time for me to talk. Of course, if there's any additional questions, once the topic is brought up, I can further discuss them as well. I'm here on behalf of Megaship Ventures. We submitted a proposal for both Hangar Q and Hangar L. Obviously, Hangar L is the most recent one. It was asked today if we would be completely finishing or getting rid of the Hangar Q proposal because of the new proposal of Hangar L. And with our current plans, they are kind of wanting to utilize both hangars. With that, they're wanting to demolish Hangar Q and move over Hangar L into its current place, which is why it is involving both of the hangars. If we had to choose which one, we would choose Hangar L. But again, that is up for further discussion. Ultimately, Megaship Ventures is wanting to have further discussions with the city to make further plans to see what will be best for both the city and themselves as well.
Thank you.
Julius, at what point can we ask questions about that, or is that
When we
for-
get to item 7.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then reports and comments from board members. Hugh, do you have anything?
I had a couple items, but one of them was the lack of the City of Cleveland FBO information on the website AirNav. If you were to do a fuel price search on AirNav, Cleveland Airport doesn't show up. So and that's just a matter of going on to their website and representing the city and putting in the information. We're not even listed as having fuel on a very popular website. So that was one thing. The other thing, I was on the upcoming event on May 24th, the Wing and a Prayer flying. I wasn't aware of it, but I heard that there was plans of having a prayer walk on the runway, and I would like to discuss that when the appropriate time. I think it's produces a very safety issue having people, especially non-aviation people, on a runway. Even if there's a NOTAM, I think it's just it introduces a lot of risk. That's and if this is a time to talk about it, I mean.
Yeah, you can just bring it up. We can't discuss it, but you can bring
Okay.
it up and then afterwards if we need to.
Okay. Yeah, that was something I had heard. Wasn't aware of it other than I just heard from it just through, talking to people at the airport, and I wasn't aware of that. It would be taking place. And, I think it's a safety issue.
Okay. Craig, you got anything?
No, I'm also interested in the two topics that you brought up. I concur with those. Nothing else, though. Thank you, Jordan.
Jake, you got anything?
I kind of shared that sentiment about the safety issue, but that's all I had.
All right. Thank y'all for y'all's comments and y'all's time being here tonight. And then report from director.
Hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you? Sorry.
I'm very well, very well. Had to get my mic going here. Greg.
I thought you were looking for a response.
Okay, so, yes, this meeting was called impromptu. I wanted to go over the Wing and a Prayer event, also, gain some support from the tenants, and just, talk about that first. So I understand your concern with people walking the runway. I'm not sure quite how, in terms of safety, in terms of, maybe health, the heat, somebody passing out or something, but what are you thinking in terms of a NOTAM to shut the runway down with, with safety
Right.
precautions?
My concern is someone attempting to land on the runway with people on the runway. Also, just saying that the airport, there's a NOTAM when the runway is closed does not capture all the users. There's going to be people, a scenario could be someone en route to Conroe Airport and just east of here develop a problem with the aircraft, and they need to land. They may not, they could have done everything right to get their NOTAMs for their departure and destination airports, and 3 miles east of Cleveland, they have an engine problem. They need to land right away.
Emergency landing.
Emergency landing.
Right.
Lose an engine, and they come in and land, and then there's people walking, say they're landing on 16, and there's people walking 16 southbound. They're not going to see them if there's an engine failure. They're gliding in. There's no sound. I just think it's just not a good practice to put pedestrians, people on a runway, unless there's a real urgent need and with a lot of extra safety precautions, flashing lights, a closed barrier with lighted, because a runway surface is, there's been times where aircraft have had to land and not be talking to anyone, and they need to, I've had to do it myself in an emergency situation when I lost an engine. I had to glide down and land. I wasn't going to be calling flight service for NOTAMs at the last minute when my engine is failing. I see a piece of concrete I can land on, I'm going to land. And I think anybody here has been flying long enough, we don't check NOTAMs every single time we fly, even though we're required to, we're supposed to. Especially in a local flight. I do my best. I'm, a professional pilot. I check NOTAMs, but sometimes that stuff gets missed. Someone from a local airport going to hop over to, Lufkin for breakfast, and they're flying up. Hey, let's drop into Cleveland and say hi to Andy over there, and they didn't necessarily check the NOTAMs. Are they being negligent? That's a whole nother. There's times when you land at an airport and you haven't received the NOTAMs, and to have people on the runway, I think it opens the city up in the users of the airport, the people that are walking down the runway, to a risky situation.
Has there, Aaron, been any safety risk management process in place to assess things like what he was bringing up? Typically, whenever, I remember there's been a few companies that would do drag racing at local airports. As part of the preparation for that, they would bring in and convene with the FAA's assistance a safety risk management study in which all potential risks are identified, and then mitigations are then identified to address whatever those risks are. So I don't know if that has been done as part of this process. For example, just brainstorming real quick, one possible risk that would a mitigation that would surface in a risk management study would be to make sure we had closed runway X's, closing the runway for the person who didn't get their briefing, even though they're required. At the very last minute, there would be a very strong visual cue that the runway is closed, and they could see that themselves before they attempted to land. So, as an example. So I don't know if there was a process like that where all possible risks from every vantage point could be assessed, mitigations put into place to prevent those, and then we can help ensure that we have as safe an event as possible. So that, I don't know anything like that's been done. So.
Can I add one thing? And I am by no means opposed to the prayer walk or anything like that. I just think it could be done adjacent to, off of the runway surface itself. I don't see on the taxiway and on the ramp area or in front of the hangars, or I'm opposed to having people on the runway unless they absolutely have to be there. And that's with, when I don't know what the city does when they're out there doing, crack sealing or some kind of work on the runway. They probably have a spotter, and they probably have someone with a radio. But even that doesn't prevent someone in a distress situation in an aircraft that's overflying. I mean, wasn't it a couple of years or 2 or 3 years ago, there was someone overflying going to a local airport, and they lost engine in a Bonanza, and they circled down and landed at the airport. And they're coming down. They're not going to go around if they've lost an engine. I mean, speaking of someone that's actually been in an aircraft with a failed engine, I mean, your number one priority is saving yourself and the aircraft. The aircraft is secondary, obviously. It's not hurting anybody on the ground, but if you don't have, you're coming down. And so I think there's maybe some alternative, maybe we can discuss putting people somewhere other than the runway for that. That's my concern.
I think the taxiway idea is the safer, better option. You're still getting to get over,
Airport.
over the runway, and it's,
Right.
we're out of the way of it.
Right.
Well, I've been at previous airports where we have done, like you said, drag racing. We've done runs at Ellington, and I get it, that's a bigger airport, but there are some safety measures that can be put in place to still keep people on the runway and have it a safe event. I don't want us to be afraid of people on the runway, because a part of my position is, community involvement, getting the community involved in our airport, letting them come. There are plenty of people in Cleveland who don't even know we have an airport.
Right.
So, I mean, the taxiway, that is an option, but I feel comfortable with the preparedness that I've put in place, which is getting volunteers to walk alongside of the prayer walk attendees. Those who are going to be participating, these people, they don't have aviation experience. They're not looking for planes. They're not looking for danger. So in preparing for this event, I was trying to elicit help from tenants, from other employees in the city, to walk with those participants, to wear vests, to have radios, to kind of do like a spotting, if you will, by looking up in the air. And also, this prayer walk is for an hour. So I don't think it's a huge concern for shutting the runway down for pedestrians for 1 hour out of the entire day. The Young Eagles just had an event. We shut down the runway for them. Everything was safe. They loaded those planes. They took those kids for those discovery flights. They had a great time. And I know, you never know when things are going to happen. You never know. They can happen at any time. But that event went off without a hitch, and we're praying for the same thing for this event. So I'm confident with some volunteers, some spotters, radios, just to kind of monitor the event, monitor what's going on. For an hour, I'm confident that we can have a successful event. Any other
Is
comments?
it possible, I don't know if we own anything that has like the big visual X that can close the runway
Not
for?
that I know of. Do you, can you give me a picture of it? I can see if I can find something like that. Because it's definitely worth it.
Yeah,
Also, would
I'm not sure where.
or barricade like in an X if they put.
Right, well, what they do, well, I've seen two. There's some that are like big painted X's. They're not literally painted, but they're, I don't know, what was it, like,
They're pretty large.
they're very, very large. I would call them like linoleum type of, maybe it's the wrong word, but they're attached to the runway and lay flat. The other type that you see, but it's mainly for nighttime use, is actually a prop that is up at an angle that is in the form of an X that's lighted. So it's very, I mean, you can see the runway is closed.
There's an image of
Yeah.
one that's,
Yeah. I don't know where
If
those.
you can send it to me.
Those can have access to, but see, here's, like down in here. So then, while they're there, anybody that does come and misses the NOTAM and all that other stuff, there's that last fail-safe thing that can
Absolutely.
wave them off, for lack of a better
Absolutely.
word. So-
I agree with that. Safety is the number one priority, and if there's something like that I can get my hands on before this event, hopefully that will put you guys at ease a little bit more, because, safety is first, but we also want to engage our community, and that's a big part of why, the city brought me here. So I want to make sure I complete my mission, okay?
I had a quick question, Greg.
Yes.
So just in the sense of maybe saving some money, would a police car or two or three on the runway do the same thing with their lights on?
I mean, I don't know if that would or not.
I mean,
It's anything that would visually close it, I guess. The standard, everything's about standard markings. That's kind of where my world, where I grew up, So it's, pilots may wonder, okay, what is that? Then they may use common sense and say it's closed. But there's no doubt when you have an X.
Yeah, this is,
That's what that means for a
Right.
pilot.
right.
Runway closed, period. And now, granted, emergency happens.
yeah.
Pilots, they have emergency authority to do whatever they need to do. And so they can disregard pretty much anything.
I mean, the NOTAM is not going to stop an emergency landing.
Right.
So,
It's gonna
I mean,
happen.
Yeah.
So that's why if we can keep people off of the runway to the extent possible, I think it's always the safer option. But I understand what you're trying to do, and I appreciate it, and I think it's
Sure, absolutely.
applauded, but it's, I'm just concerned with people on the runway, and that's all.
All right. Okay, next portion of my director's report, some fuel sales. Let's get to the good part. Get to the good stuff. Avgas for the month of April, 5,306 gallons for $21,863. Moving over to Jet A, 5,369 gallons. Well, I'm sorry, Jet A, that's $5,369.
Oh,
Dollars for Jet A, 484 gallons. Mhm. Any questions on fuel? Moving on, new FBO hours. I did send a communication out to all the tenants. We are closed. The office is now closed on Sundays. We did a little bit of research since I first started, and we kind of looked at the number of people coming in, requesting assistance from, city employees, and it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth having anybody there. So our new FBO hours are Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Any questions on that? We also have painting and striping of the taxiways that's still in the works. Don't have a approximate ETA on that, but it is in the works. We're looking at a few companies, getting some pricing for them, and, doing the best we can to save and pinch and stretch our dollar. Also, we're looking into finishing the perimeter fence as well. That's within the next 3 to 6 months, so stay tuned for that. Any questions on that? No, no ETA on that. Also, lawn maintenance suggestions. I've had a number of the tenants come in and talk to me regarding that, and I need some help. So what do you guys see in terms of lawn, in terms of weeds, in terms of horticulture? Do you have any opinions? Any comments, any suggestions on that?
Are you talking lawn right around the FBO there? Or are you talking grass all the way around runways and
The
all that?
runway and all, when you hit Moon Lane, all the way down to the FBO, all the way to the
Julius, my
back.
understanding was the city was cutting that. Are they on a schedule or?
I don't have a schedule.
Probably when it's dry.
Yeah, the water has something to do with it. I don't have a schedule for them. I think they just come when they can. But we want to make sure it looks good at all times. And I mean, I'm hearing from the tenants a lot, so I want to get suggestions. What can I do? What do you suggest in my efforts to move forward with getting that under control?
Well, there's certainly need to have, if there's runway lights that are obscured by tall grass, that's a concern. If that's, I would think that would be on a scheduled or as needed, a must-do for the city, and then work out from the runway. As far as, I know there's tall grass in front of my hangar. I mean, I don't know if that's, I'm supposed to go weed whack that myself, or if the city comes by and does that, but certainly if the taxiway or runway lights are obscured by tall grass, we want to get that mowed down, and then, the ditches, obviously, for drainage, we need to have that, make sure that's addressed, but.
I can make a small recommendation. I know it's gonna be in December when we do it, but we can add it to the city's, mowing contract that they have coming up. We can try to add that and see what the difference is cost-wise, and try to see if the airport can help offset it a little bit, so city's not eating the whole thing, but it'll be in December, but I know we're about to get in the high grass months, so, I know our public works very hard on trying to upkeep everything around the city, so I know they're gonna try to make it out there. I just can't tell you the schedule. Roger's not here either to give y'all a good update on that either, so.
Especially with all those new lights out there, we don't want them running over those new lights. Those are really nice.
Yeah, well, we're thankful for Public Works. They do their best. We know they are, limited in, personnel and, where they can get to. So we keep that in consideration. But like you said, we need to make sure that safety is number one, airport lights are seen, and then, we want to look good. You look good, you feel good, you play good.
I agree. Is there, I guess I'm making an assumption, so I'm going to frame that as a question. Is there safety training for whoever does the mowing, assuming it's city, but when they get near the runways, are they aware, is there radio frequency monitoring? Are they aware of, giving way, for lack of a better word, or just whatever protocols would need to be in place for mowers, contract or city employees who are in the vicinity of an active runway? Is there training for that? Because I would think that would be hugely important. And I assume there is, Aaron. I don't know that there isn't. I don't mean to say that.
No, I don't
But,
either.
yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in place for safety, for right-of-way,
Right.
for an aircraft.
Yeah. It's been a long time since this happened, but it happened at Cleveland to me. On a takeoff roll, a mower decided to go do the other side of the runway and cut across the runway right in front of me. So it didn't alter. I didn't have to yank it up or slam on the brakes or anything like that. but it caused the question to come to my mind. And and I know larger airports that are air carrier serviced, there are requirements for that kind of training. And we do have, as you know, a lot of training traffic from other flight schools that come. So it's, anyway, I just bring that up as we're considering lawn maintenance near the runways to put a safety measure in place to make sure that part's covered too, so if it's not already.
Absolutely. I like that. Thank you, Greg. All right, I also,
Aaron, one other comment on the mowing thing. I haven't, I don't mean to contradict anybody that's said anything already giving you feedback, but I haven't really seen anything get out of line on lawn cutting. I mean, I've seen it get tall, but I haven't seen anything, and from my viewpoint personally, that where it was out of line.
okay. I guess maybe more the lines on the weeds, right in front of the ramp, on the ramp area, kind of coming through the
Oh, okay.
concrete and
Yeah.
snaking, and eventually it's going to get to the runway.
Okay.
So some of that we need to get a head start on before we find ourselves in,
Okay.
thousands of dollars in trouble.
Right, gotcha.
So, okay. And that's the end of my director's report. Thank you so much.
Thank you for updating us. I know y'all just got the,
Yes, Greg?
When I had responded to the notice for this meeting, I think it was Juanita maybe, or Jacqueline had said that you were going to cover the approach. I don't know if that was
Yes.
an oversight or,
Yes, I'm sorry. RNAV 34, the new approach on the other side of runway. I have been doing some research. We talked about it earlier, the individual that Dickey was working with, Mr. Harbor, the previous director. The individual at the FAA that he was working with is no longer there. I have been trying to navigate, find out who our new contact person is for that, and I haven't been able to find anyone. If you want to briefly, just go over what this approach is going to do for our airport. And also, if any of the tenants, if you guys know of a point person, know of somebody that can help me with that, put me in contact with them. Because the research that I've been doing on my own, I can't find anyone to help me tackle that.
well, I think we can help identify, and get a name for you.
Okay.
Hugh, before he retired from the FAA, that was his job. So he knows a lot of the people, I'm assuming, you don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think we can get a name for you. We know enough people there that we can find the right person who's going to work that for
Wonderful,
our airport. So
wonderful, wonderful.
can I commit that?
The person who replaced me
Yeah.
would be my start.
Right, and then we would, then
Because they have
there's
to go with the regional office.
correct, and that's the regional office, I think, is who has changed, right? In Fort
not
Worth?
sure.
Okay, all right, we will,
And also, can you just describe what that would do for our airport? RNAV
So-
34, what does that mean?
so right now, we used to have two approaches into the airport. We had an RNAV GPS 1.6 approach, which still exists. And it is a LPV, which is almost an ILS type GPS approach that comes in from the north with very low minimums compared to what's called a non-precision approach. We used to have also a VOR approach from over the day Zeta VOR that came in from the southeast. That approach has been canceled. So if you're coming from the south or the southeast, yes, exactly. If you're coming from the south or the southeast, you have to go all the way to the north to grab the approach. On top of that, there are restrictions. So if the winds are from the north and the weather is low, the only approach you have is the RNAV GPS 1/6 landing to the south. If the winds are from the north, you have to land on 3-4. At night, there's a restriction on that approach that prohibits you from circling to 3-4. So there is no way in instrument conditions with a northerly wind to get into Cleveland. You have to go to Conroe or some other airport now. And so that is really the primary issue, is there is no way to get in that scenario at night for the night authorization restriction. If we were to establish an approach from the south, that would address that issue. In addition to reducing the flight time for people that are coming from the south and the east, who could take that approach in lieu of the one from the north, if conditions permitted. So those are really the two big issues. It requires no investment, ground equipment-wise, for the city. It's all, because it's GPS, it's all global position satellite-based. And it's just a matter of establishing the procedures, having Flight Check come out and fly the procedure to ensure the minimum standards are all met, and they have to come out and Flight Check 1/6 anyway for that approach. So coming out and adding a second approach to it, while there is a workload involved for the agency to do that, it's minimal workload, in my opinion. If you're coming out for one approach, you can just add on a
Right.
second approach very simply. So it's just simply a matter of designing the approach, submitting it to Flight Check to having it done. I'm oversimplifying a little bit. I know there's probably a lot more to that than that, but in essence, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
My understanding in talking to Dickie, the large part of that work has already been done. So for it to die on the vine is puzzling to me. And so I think it's simply a matter of finding the right person that hopefully will reactivate it.
Yes. So it's not gonna die on the vine.
Okay.
Yeah, simply, change of positions. People get promoted, they move on, so that's simply what happens.
Part of Dine on the Vine is at the regional level. The person I worked with for years on approaches and such was retiring. And that leads me to the other thing on the RNAV 1/6 approach, where we're supposed to have those fixed names. I had requested Alf and Vane. And I don't know, I saw an email or something that I had put a request, this is back before I retired in 22, so this started probably in 20. I had worked with, on the next revision for the RNAV 1/6 approach, I created a fix to the northeast, so to help mitigate that aircraft from the southeast, to not have to fly all the way out. There was a left base entry T-fix for the RNAV 1/6 approach, and I was going to name that ALF, and I got those names approved through the agency, and they're reserved and slated to be used on the next approach. And then, but it was in the years, to come, because it takes so long for these things to come to actual printing. And I don't know where the status of that is. I heard there's an approach update in the June update, but I think that got dropped off, and I don't know, whatever. I mean, that died on the vine, so to speak, is what I understand, but I was told from the FAA's regional office, people that, sign, they're the ones that we need to talk to about the 3-4 approach, but that it was already slated, it was going to happen. That new T-fix with the new name, it was going to raise the altitude of Hawks by 100 feet, 31 instead of 3. And we got, at the time, Clay Dean was the airport manager, got his approval on it because it had to go through the airport to get that approved. And it was all supposedly going to be on the next revision, which was, to be determined. But here we are in 2025, and I saw an email from someone that said that was dropped. So I don't know any more about that. So maybe you have heard something on your end.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
What were the approved names?
Alf
Uh-huh.
and Vane. In honor of, in memory of the previous airport manager, it was there for years, Alf Vane. He was there, I don't know if anybody here knows Alf, but, yeah. But I mean, I had went through the channels and got all those names reserved through the FAA, and they were reserved for Cleveland, 6 Romeo 3, to be on the next available charting cycle, or next publication of an amendment to that approach. So.
I know y'all got y'all's meeting minutes late today, So if y'all want to read over them real quick before we approve them, or if any discrepancies that we need to fix. And if one of y'all would make a motion, if it's good.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second? Got a motion by Greg and a second by Hugh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Discussion and possible action on following. Hangar L replacement for Hangar Q proposed by Jenny Ship.
Did everyone receive the RFP for that?
No, we didn't get the RFP, we just got the scoring sheet. Yeah, only the ones on the committee got the paper for that one.
Okay, so,
If you just want to give them an update on it.
yeah, I'll
and then
give you guys an
she can
update
give
and then hear your comments. We recently put out an RFP for Hangar L. That's the last hangar that we got from Sugar Land. We received one proposal back from the Quonset Hut Company, Genie Shipped and Family. It's basically taking all of the equipment, all of the items that we received from Sugar Land that are currently on the ground in the back of the airport, taking it, knocking the Quonset Hut down, and rebuilding Hangar L in Hangar Q's place. So that's what they were proposing. Initially, they sent, and some of this has happened before my time. I'm coming into it and taking it on. You guys understand that. So before my time, they initially put in a contract. Yes, it hasn't been finalized, but they initially put in an RFP and was in the process of finalizing a contract for Hangar Q. So that has not been done. It's still open. It's still in limbo. We're still waiting on that. But this is recent. So now, and they want to take Hangar L, all of the contents that we have received for Hangar L, and replace Hangar Q with Hangar L's, all of the material that we have. So that's basically what this is. So any comments or concerns on that?
I just have a question, is a lot of times height requirements in close proximity to a runway are grandfathered in, like Hangar Q, I'm sure is grandfathered. Once that's demolished and you want to do a new construction, whatever requirements exist would apply to that new construction.
Correct.
Are there any, I don't know, are there any height requirements building it on the Hangar Q location? And I don't know what the height of the Hangar L is. Right, they would.
It
And-
would.
And TxDOT probably would assist with that too, I'm gonna guess.
They would, but if the Hangar L, if it would be moved to the Quonset Hut location, it probably would have to match the current dimensions. It wouldn't be able to, whatever the
No.
height requirements on
Because
that one.
the proposal was bigger than Hangar Q.
Yeah.
Was bigger width-wise or height-wise?
I believe both,
Both?
yes.
So-
But I remember we had the issue of making sure it was 250 feet from the center of the runway, which TxDOT and FAA approved it because they measured it. But I guess once they started the construction, once they submitted the plans, I think that's when they would say, this is the height that it can be at or can't be at. It'd be like a pre-construction meeting, pretty much, saying this, they're gonna approve it or not, and they'll just have to adjust heights or widths, I would assume, just like a regular construction site.
I just know those restrictions exist. I don't know what they are specifically.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking at a previous meeting about that, and I thought the FAA approved, they were aware that it was going to be a demolish the Quonset and a new structure, and they approved that to an extent, and to what, you know.
What extent, I'm not 100%.
Right, but I know there was-
Dickie was working with it and Scott,
Right.
and both of them unfortunately are not with it.
Exactly, yeah.
For
But I
that
know there was
information.
progress in that area on that exact topic, because it was an understanding that the Quonset hangar had to be demolished and it be replaced, and it was approved to a certain level as far as, you know, had to, you know, the dimensions and all had to be, I think, within of what the hangar is existing, but
Yeah.
they knew it was going to be rebuilt.
Yes.
So that would be something that would have to be, you know, obviously clarified before anybody did construction to make sure that they're not gonna build something that's gonna be, you know, torn down because it didn't comply or something.
And then the other
Obviously, that would be
question I
done.
think that was gonna be on it with this item was, would y'all, which council still can decide if they wanna put it back out for one more time for RFP. Y'all would want to do that to see if we do get any more? Cause that's what I was kind of thinking, if there was is there anywhere that stuff can be posted where it would get more attention? Because I know the way the city posted is the way it is by the law, but I know not pilots and everything are coming to the city website to look, hey, what's going on? So I don't know if y'all have an idea of where it could be posted, if it does go out for another RFP, and if y'all would rather it go out one more time just to see if we get more than one proposal.
I don't know if there's any of the aviation representative groups that are always interested in airport development, like AOPA, for example, I'll throw that Aircraft Owner and Pilots Association. You know, they're all about increasing and improving facilities for general aviation pilots.
Yeah.
Contacting them and asking for either their assistance to post it. They may be happy to do that on their website or someplace.
Okay.
Just in that effort, and there may be other alphabet groups out there that would have a similar thing. That's just something off the top of my head I would suggest.
Yeah, 'cause that's another thing we're thinking about, you know, most people through city contracts, you know, they're looking at the mowing or, you know, other stuff. It's not a whole lot of aviation going on, so that's just that's what I know this topic's gonna bring up eventually, and it's gonna be on our agenda on Tuesday, so.
May I
Yeah,
have-
if y'all could give me direction too, so I can tell them this is what the airport board would like to see done, that kinda helps too.
Would it be less expensive for the city to allow, I don't know what site prep is necessary, where, you know, there was land clearing there at the south end.
Yes.
But with the slope of the terrain, would it be less expensive for the city to have that hangar built on the Q location versus on the L location?
And of course, Emilio just walked out, the one that probably could answer
Yeah.
that question. But,
But then, would that be,
the thing I think the city was looking for, sorry to interrupt, is having two new hangars out there to have
Revenue
more
from.
revenues coming in. That's what, I know that's the way it was looked at from the backside, from all the way through. And then, of course, the second time we put it out, first time, I don't think we got any proposals, so we put it out a second time, and we got one, and it came in 30 minutes before it was closing, so that's why is there anywhere that we can put it that y'all know, and which, I mean, that's the only thing we could,
there's no question that added hangar space
yeah.
is needed.
Oh, I know.
Okay, that should not be even, I mean, discussed. I mean, build it, they'll come. And if we want to increase Jet A sales, larger hangars are going to be necessary. I mean, there's potential if this hangar L, say, if you did both hangars, if Megaship did what they want to do at the Quonset hangar with the new construction or with moving the surplus hangar over there, and you still build the hangar on the L location with the site prep or whatever's necessary, and you get a couple light jet tenants in there. It's not necessarily something that the city would have to manage. I mean, you could actually probably lease a large hangar to one or two jet tenants, and, I mean, your fuel sales are gonna, obviously go up in the Jet A department, and so, I mean, if that's a market you're looking for, I mean, but without any kind of facilities for them, they're gonna go somewhere else. I mean, you don't leave, multi-million-dollar jets out on the ramp for any length of time, they want them inside, so. That's just a suggestion. If we could do both, I think that'd be a win-win,
I agree.
Yeah.
2 is better than 1.
So y'all are good going back out one more time to see what proposal we get?
I would see no harm in that at all, probably a good thing.
And I think also with then going back out, we get a little more information, because I know it was put together pretty quick, because I know y'all got it last minute, y'all noticed it.
Unfortunately, Jeannie Ship, my coach son-in-law, she was handling some family issues. Significant other 10-plus years passed away from pancreatic cancer, so she was dealing with that. Right after we passed, this came up to her attention, so we did put it together pretty quickly, and that's why we were hoping to get further discussion with the city to propose more plans, better plans to work with everyone.
Well, they say a bird in the hand is, if you have someone that's already willing and wanting to move forward on it, I would think maybe looking at that contract and trying to, maybe advance on that would be beneficial.
And there has been further interest in the Hangar L replacement, so just, my recommendation would be to put it out for another 2 weeks for the RFP. There is some more shopping around that we can do, like Greg mentioned, that group. Also, social media, just get it out, LinkedIn, Facebook, just put it, as many sites as we can to get that interest up, so.
Also, the only other reason I'm bringing that up is, no offense to y'all at all. Our scoring sheet, and I don't know if you looked at it, but I'm on the committee, she had sent all y'all the scoring sheet, but some of it's gonna be zeros because it doesn't have the correct information we need to score it, because it's not there. So at that point, it's gonna be a very low scorecard, and does that look good on us at the end of the day to take that on? Which I know it's no offense or nothing, but, and that's where, and then that gives y'all more time to actually put the proposal together a little bit.
That was gonna be my next question, and
Yeah.
once it's put back out, can we?
Yes, you can resubmit with, which it'll have, of course, all the information to add on there. So, I mean, if y'all are good with that recommendation,
It makes,
okay.
I would be,
All right, and then we'll move on to item 8. Missing agreement for the airport property directly across from the airport, potential RFP for agricultural land.
So I had spoken to the individual who currently, not resides, but who currently uses that land for agricultural purposes. We were trying to locate the agreement, the original agreement for that. Gave them a timeline, nothing has come up. We weren't able to find one either, so, I mean, there's no agreement. So we need a recommendation to either go out for RFP for that land or, just get some comments on what you guys think we should do with that.
well, we talked about the land directly across FM 787.
Directly
on the
across
approach
787.
Path to 16.
That's correct.
That field, so to speak.
That's correct.
My only thought is, I don't know what an RFP, how it would be defined, but if there's any structures built on that,
Just for agricultural land.
just for agriculture, okay, good. Because once you do that, the minimums go up on the approach, so. yeah.
Right.
I don't have any comment on that. I didn't know that was city, I thought was, I just see a bunch of cows out there, so. I
Do
don't
we
know.
need an RFP if somebody's already using it? Can you just get him to sign a new contract?
She said, I think a couple of people reach out.
Yeah, yeah, we have to give.
Using the land, so at that point, we had to go to the RFP to see what their proposal is to use the land to put livestock or whatever agriculture they want to put on it.
Yeah, just want to make sure we're, from a legal standpoint, it's fair, to everyone. So my recommendation is to go ahead and put that agricultural land out for RFP, and we will take it to council from there. Any other questions on the agricultural land on 787? All right. Last one, number 9, hangar fees. I am currently in the process of doing research. Greg, I know you are one of our veterans at 6R3. Do you recall any increases in hangar fees?
We have had increases. The last one, we just established a commercial rate.
That wasn't an increase for him. He
Not
just
for- not for
established.
me.
Well, not for all tenants. That was just the tenants who are operating commercial businesses. Was that right?
Right, but that was a new pay structure
For all tenants or
for
commercial tenants?
those who had commercial operations.
Correct. So for the
But-
other tenants,
Right.
is anything?
For just a private, no commercial, non-commercial use. Seems like we have had an increase, but it's been many years ago. I don't know if, I'm gonna look over at Larry and Andy sitting there, I know they're tenants there also. Y'all recall anything? Okay,
Yeah, it's been a while, and we discussed it at a previous airport meeting to
They were going to keep it.
to delay
They were going to
increase.
delay it for a year is what we did,
Right.
and then created the commercial rate,
Right.
just so we could get on a kind of a step program to eventually be where we needed to be.
Right, 'cause we
Which
wanted
we
to-
usually do it during budget season.
Review it in this coming October, I think is what we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was a unanimous agreement on that, was the commercial rate being established and then foregoing other rate increases until we discussed it in October. That was the last thing I heard about it.
Okay, so just know, research is being done on that to get us up to par, up to standard. I don't know exactly how many years, but we want to make sure that we are competitive and that we are equivalent to our neighbors in rental fees and rates and so forth. So the research is going to be started, and we'll be presenting that to you guys at a later date, okay? Any comments on hangar fees? Thank you.
Got a motion to adjourn? No other comments, questions?
I have an administrative question, if I can ask that.
Go ahead.
We have a vacant chairman position, I was just wanting an update on that, I don't know.
Tuesday. It'll be appointed on Tuesday.
Okay, very good, thanks. I was
No, you're
curious.
welcome. Anything else? Good? Motion to adjourn?
Nobody wants to go home?
No one wants to go home? Motion to adjourn? Aye. Got it. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you all.